and gentlemen. Usually I like to break the ice by pouring vodka over a nice glass. However, I'm going to attempt to entertain you in probably a less exciting way over the next 5 minutes. As Ben introduced me, my name is Nicole, and I am partners in an accounting firm, and I also own my own investment firm. But that is the less exciting part of my life. I'm going to lead you down my very colorful past and let you get to know me a little bit better. I was 17 and I went to Temescal Canyon. I was an honor student on the varsity basketball team and had a lot going for me. I got pregnant. Made my parents very proud, dropping that bomb on them. And so through these events, it had changed the course of my life. And I had some decisions I had to make. I decided to change where I was going to school. I decided to come locally and go to San Marcos. And I got a job at Domino's. I became manager over a couple of months. So here I was, 18. I ended up graduating early and took a management position at Domino's, going to school. I wanted to become a marine biologist. I love scuba diving, biology, and all that stuff. So I, through my management over at Domino's, had met a fellow by the name of Mark Hall. Some of you may have recognized that name. He's an old school UFC fighter. He was doing a local fight, and he had offered me $800 to do an amateur cat fight for him in 3 weeks. I was 18, manager at Domino's, obviously living paycheck to paycheck, going to school full-time, had a 1-year-old son. I jumped on that opportunity. I figured a couple minutes, $800, pretty quick. I could use the cash to make my rent this month. Pretty excited about that opportunity. Also, I got a personal trainer and a UFC fighter to help me over the next couple of weeks. I remember the day very clearly. It was in December. It was my son's first birthday party. And I had put on a little shindig with all my friends, and my friends didn't really have kids, obviously, because I was 18, but there was a lot of adults at the party. We had a good time. I quickly wrapped up. I didn't want to tell my parents what I was doing yet, since I'd already made them so proud. I didn't want to drop that bomb on them as well. So I quickly changed. I wrapped up my event that night with my son. I left my son over at my parents' house. My friends picked me up, and I ran down, and I did this amateur cat fight, if you will. Bare knuckles, no rules, just jumped into a ring. I wasn't really sure what to expect. Oddly enough, I'm a little more nervous tonight doing the speech than I was that night doing the cat fight. I jumped in there, and I've always been very athletic, so it was no contest. A girl got in there, and she was looking for a quick $800 as well. I ended up kicking the crap out of her and kicked her out of the ring in like 2 minutes. It was fantastic. It was the biggest adrenaline rush I've ever had in my entire life. After that, I had a couple of television interviews that night, and I got a manager and some trainers and went on to actually developing a career. I went from boxing to UFC, and over the course of 5 years, actually was one of the first UFC female fighters in King of the Cage, which are the big-time local UFC events. We got to get a little bit more rules, and you had those cut-off gloves and everything like that. And I was much skinnier and in really good shape back then, but it was really exciting. Meanwhile, I was doing that. I was still working at Domino's. And I wanted to do something more with my life. I knew I couldn't be a UFC fighter forever. And my son was getting to the point where he understood what fighting was, and he was going training with me, and he was getting into trouble at school with chokeholds and whatnot. So I decided to tame it down a little bit. I pulled back on my fighting. I was still taking 21 units over at San Marcos, still going for my biology major. And my boyfriend at the time had introduced me to his accountant, Fred, who is now my partner, with my accounting firm. Through that, I jumped up the lines. I became very efficient in tax law. I went out and got my other licenses, including my security licensing. And now I can stand up here very proudly saying I worked hard. I was a UFC fighter, turned marine biologist, turned accounting and financial advisor. I now own my own accounting firm with Fred, and also my own investment firm, which I have the honors of working with Michael Klein in the investment firm. And I own my own house. My son is now 12, beautiful son. He's a pain in the ass and still gives me a lot of hard times. But he's just like me. I don't know if that's good or bad, but if I can mold that into the correct career path, I think that would be a great opportunity in the future. And that's it. That's my life. You got to know me a little bit better. Thank you.